Hey everybody, Cowboy here. I'm not seeing this stream come through on Telegram right now. Hold on a second. Let me tell everybody in there what's going on. Yeah, it's a little odd. Might have to restart here. And if that's the case, we apologize. Let's see what's going on. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can fix this. Hold on, everybody. Sorry for the delay in starting. I think I discovered the issue. And here we are. Okay, cool. Sorry about that weird start, everybody. This is Cowboy. And so, what we do here at Algo Factory is first of all, what we do is we help people become traders. We help teach them how to, build their own trading algorithm, their own trading method, whether they want to trade kind of the old fashioned way, the manual way, or if they eventually want to go ahead and take their trading method and turn it into, something that they can uh, something that they can automate and walk away. We do that here, and it's a great time to be able to do it because we see a lot of volatility coming in like the next year or two, maybe 3 or 4, who knows? But we've had plenty of volatility this last gosh, I mean, I'm looking at the chart right now all year. Slowed down a little bit in the earlier part of the year, but we had a ton of volatility last year before. So it's been really great trading, especially in like currencies or even stocks. Yeah, you name it, it's been good. So and it's never been a better time to learn how to do this. If you want to be a trader, go ahead, zap this QR code that you see on the screen right there. It's also in the top left-hand corner, and it's going to take you to our website, or just go to www.algofactory.tech. Now, we're just going to go ahead and jump right into the content here in a minute. So I don't want to sit here and make this too much of a commercial, but I did want to give you a chance to understand how to find us. Okay, so I'm going to leave that QR code up on the top left, www.algofactory.tech. There is the website. And let's see here. So it's Monday, and there's not any real data coming out. The market opens in about an hour. I do think for some of the currency markets, the direction is kind of set. Looks like the dollar is getting weak. And so, with everything against the dollar should be getting what looks like strong, right? So going up against the dollar. So let's just say you're a currency trader and you like to trade the euro versus the dollar. Well, right now the charts look like they're going to kind of grind upwards, little bit of a grind, right? So we'll go ahead and demonstrate that on the charts. But what we're going to do also here in the private lab. So look, if you're new to the channel, first of all, like, subscribe, check the notification box, do all those things that you do for YouTube. And if you're watching this after the fact, go ahead and give us a couple of comments, even after the fact, because that does help our algorithms. Okay. But understand that what we're going to do after this half hour is up is we do another hour for our private members, which we are able to answer some questions. We answer questions in this one too. We answer questions from private members. If you're not a private member, but you are watching us like on YouTube, and you can ask us questions. We do, of course, prioritize the private members, but we will answer your questions if we can get to them, if you're not part of Algo Factory yet. And as a matter of fact, if you're watching, you pretty much are a part of Algo Factory. We're all one big happy family. You're with me, whether you like it or not. Just kidding. Not kidding. Just kidding. All right. So let's see. Let's go ahead and jump into the charts. Do that real quick. Now, as we migrate in the next 25 minutes over to the private group, we're actually going to have hopefully some people who are ready to discuss their progress. Of course, we got people who are not able to be on the live broadcast, so they may not be available to discuss their progress. But we got a couple of people in here, more than a couple, who are really knocking it out. They're getting through all their back testing. Some of them are forward testing. Some of them have built indicators. They've just taught themselves how to actually do the coding. And of course, you don't have to do that. You don't have to have some fancy degree. You don't have to have some ability to code. That's not necessary. In fact, I have been working with people for years, showing them the ropes on how to trade. We don't give investment advice. We just show the nuts and bolts. And I've taught people how to trade who, I mean, high school degree, they don't, it's not the people you would think. Let's just say you were kind of new to this whole thing, not the kind of typical person you would think. Oh, it's got to have like a finance degree, and there's got to be they have to know how to code and all these things. I'll work with anybody. It's easy. I mean, it's it's simple, right? Not necessarily easy. It takes work, right? It takes time and work. Therein lies the difference, right? It takes time and work. Okay. Um, but hey, if you got dedication, maybe an hour or two a day, and not even 7 days a week necessarily, you'll get there. Slow progress is still progress. And there are a lot of people who think that the markets are going to disappear. It's oh, the world's going to fall apart, and it's going to be Armageddon, and all this is no, that very unlikely. There is a very low probability that you're going to be falling apart and all this. Let me tell you what. Look, we're in a world where a lot of jobs are being eliminated. We had the pandemic a couple of years ago. A lot of people's businesses got eviscerated, right? And then we also have just a lot of things that are being automated, people losing their jobs. It's just what's going on right now. And what we have to do, those of us who have an entrepreneurial or even a survival instinct financially, we need to find a way to bring money in. And trading is my choice. Look, you can't get fired from it. Okay. You can't. I mean, there's very, very low probability that trading is ever going to go away. Even in an economic downturn, look, the Great Depression 100 years ago, nearly 100 years ago, well, I should say a little over 100. Yeah, no, it was like, what, 29, I think, when the stock market first fell. Trading continued, stock market dumped, and the people like the Kennedys came in, they bought everything on the cheap. That's what the smart money does. They buy everything on the cheap. They see it's going down. They're like, hey man, I'm going to snap this up. Well, we do here at Algo Factory is really cool. We actually can make money as things are falling, and it doesn't matter what you're trading. You could be trading stocks, you could be trading, indexes like the Dow, SP 500. I prefer currencies. I like cryptocurrency. I like Forex, which we're looking at a Forex chart right now. I think we're actually going to start with looking at Bitcoin though. I think the opportunities in cryptocurrency are going to be huge starting now, and not starting yesterday, really, not just yesterday as in the day before today, but I mean, going this past several months. I think we've seen all year long some pretty low prices for the long term, right? Now, I do look, all the kind of data say that we're going to see with Bitcoin a dip. Probably, right? I'm looking at the history of the way Bitcoin works based on the halving cycle. I have been saying there should be, doesn't mean there will be, but there should be some kind of a washout, some kind of a dip coming before any big move up, before the next bull run. It's a little bit early for there to be a bull run, but you know what? Here's the crazy part about it. And I said this to the private group last night. We're looking at, I mean, if you look at the charts and if you look at the high time frame indicators, everything says bullish. It doesn't mean price won't wash out in the meantime. It doesn't mean some, event can come and crush price all the way down. I mean, but look, Bitcoin didn't barely react at all to what happened with Binance. And for those of you who might not know, Binance was the biggest crypto exchange, may still be. But the leader of Binance, I don't know, president, CEO, whatever you call it over there, CZ, right? And he's a beloved member in the crypto communities, and he kind of seems like a super nice guy. I mean, I've got buddies who've met him. They've done a lot of charity work, like a decent fellow. Long story short, he had to step down, and he was found guilty of some items with the SEC, mostly pertaining to KYC. And also, he's being blamed for, crashing FTX down, and they're having to give up, $4.3 billion. And there's a whole thing that happened. Well, I remember back in the day, I started in crypto in like 2017. Something like that would have just killed the Bitcoin price. Bitcoin would have dumped just, to whatever the yearly lows were. Look at this, unaffected relatively. We're looking at a 3-hour chart. We're looking at crypto, Bitcoin in particular, going back to October here, mid-October, and prices did nothing but go up. And the Binance thing happened, I think I think price kept going up, if I remember correctly, after the Binance thing, which is very, which kind of speaks to the resilience of crypto. And there's been a lot of talk, especially if in the private group, you've been getting a lot of intel. And this is where I'm going to go ahead and kind of pimp out the drips. Okay, so if you're, like I said, if you're not in the private group, and if you're new to this, we have the gorilla, the Gorilla, who will be on today in the next within the next 20 minutes or so. He wasn't able to get on for this, and he's on for this quite often. I'd say 4 out of 5 days, 3 out of 5 days, he's on this public show. This free to the public live lab for beginners, which is not, this was extra. We didn't have this originally when we started Algo Factory, this half hour. This was something that we added on for free, and we made it for the beginners, and we open it up to the public. So, this isn't kind of just us doing a freebie. And long story short, V the Gorilla just got a lot going on. He'll come onto the show quite often, but what he does do about once a week, it's data dependent. The world doesn't schedule its events, but V the Gorilla will come on and give us intel from really, really high up information sources. And just so you know, the Gorilla does deals that are very large, massive deals around the world, precious metals. He's involved in some crypto stuff. Companies domiciled in like Dubai, things like that. So, long story short, when you deal with people at that level, you get a lot of information ahead of time. And of course, none of the information he talks about is privileged legally. It's not like he can't talk about it. But he doesn't really talk about it outside of Algo Factory until maybe like a month, 2-3 months later, a few weeks at the least. So you get a lot of stuff early, and a lot of the information we've gotten has pointed to what's happened in the Bitcoin price here, right? So information's key if you can get it. If you get it ahead of time, because if you're waiting for the news to come out, you're waiting to trade on, based on the news. That's probably, at least in my own experience, has not ended so well. You've ever heard the term "buy the rumor, sell the news"? So what that means is that if you have a rumor based on, oh, this stock is going to do X, Y, Z, and then let's just say this company that owns this stock, well, just XYZ company is going to have a merger with ABC company, and that's going to cause the stock to go up. When that rumor starts to circulate, price goes up. And as soon as that merger hits, it's very, very common that the people who rode that up before the news was announced, they tend to sell very often. It's a very common thing for them to sell. It's called sell the news. So you buy the rumor, sell the news. That's a very common thing said in trading. Nothing is always going to work in trading, but everything's based on probabilities, right? So long story short, we're really very adept, probably more adept than just about anybody I know, or talk to about hearing the rumors first. And oftentimes it's not rumors; it's just what's going on. And only Algo Factory members get that. So the QR code's in the top left-hand side of the screen. If you want to know more, go to www.algofactor.tech. Okay. But what you're looking at on the screen is what I don't know if anybody else has called this, but I call it the stairway to heaven. It's just an uptrend. But it's an uptrend that is kind of common to see with Bitcoin, where you have this it's like a bull flag, but it has this upward tilt. And in a lot of other assets, I would consider this to be a bearish thing, right? But this actually, with Bitcoin, oftentimes means the price is going to keep going up. Not always. I could show you lots of times in the past where this actually heads down. I do think that what may happen, just based on the history of how Bitcoin acts, based on its 4-year halving cycle, we could see a pop up to some price, whatever that price may be. I can look back on the charts, and it might pop up and then try to bring in some bulls and then just get beat down. I can tell you it's rather overextended. But at the same time, the bull market is supposed to kind of begin next year. So it might just be an atypical year where the bull market starts early. Right now, what we're kind of having is a conversation where we're saying, hey, maybe this time it's different. And those conversations tend to end in losing trades, right? Meaning that if it's like famous last words, like, oh, well, this time it might be different. Well, usually that's not the case. Usually, if you look back at history tends to repeat itself in trading and assets. But once in a while, it is different. So it's not to say it won't be. But if we use the charts and we just look back at some levels of where price kind of, made some pivots and we do some analysis, we might be able to make a determination as to what might happen with price if we see a pop up, right? And I'm just looking at some old kind of pop ups, old resistances, very important levels from the past. And we're kind of at one right now. So there was a lot of price action right in this era, right? So this move down, this is an impulse down. And there are actually two impulses here, but this is a very high time frame impulse down. This move all the way down. Okay. Now, price on a move down tends to want to move back up based on Fibonacci numbers. So we can use these as a general guide to figure out where price might go. And the 618 is right here at this top line, which is at 48,000, right? Now, that's a little high, but anything can happen and price could go up there. But I can tell you right now, it's at the 382. And the 382 is a place where price can reject. And on top of that, if you look at this price action way back here, I'm gonna use my arrow to draw this out because this chart's starting to get a little bit busy. You see price kind of made its way down here, bounced a few times, and then kept going. So those bounces occurred right around this area. In fact, the candle bodies are at the bottom here very commonly. So the current price, 36.8, say high 36s, low 37s. That's an area that is kind of suspicious of where price might reject because, that's just an old pivot point. However, there are other pivot points with which we can be concerned. One of them is structurally important, right? So let's get rid of some of this noise. And I am going to line out the fib numbers, the fib lines, right? So we got this fib, that really 0.5 is not a fib number. This 48 is going to be a fib. We won't worry about lining that out. Okay. Let's see here. Now what I'm going to do is if you look at an important kind of not local, but a very inside bounce was right here where price on the way down stopped, tried to rally up and rejected. And I'm going to zoom in on it. And I've already put a line there, but you can see this candle wick right there. That's out front, right? There is one right below it, but price might kind of hit a resistance there too. But this wick stands out, and that's right at about 43,000. So we might see a move up to like the low 40s and bounce back down. But like I said, right now, like Bitcoin is bullish. It just is when it comes to the charts, when it comes to the algorithms. It's bullish. It is against resistance, which is why it's grinding up instead of just powering up, right? But look, if price breaks like 48,000, 50,000, then I'm going to be thinking the bull market has started early, But what may well happen is just a move to the low 40s and then a rejection. And that's kind of what we're looking at right now as the higher probability. Now, the way that I trade, I'm not quite as concerned with these high time frame moves, right? I catch little moves, right? So I'm able to, this is good to know which way the wind is blowing. It's good to know structure so that, okay, maybe charts are bullish, but you're getting up to a resistance. And I don't jump into a low ceiling, right? I don't long into a resistance. I wait for price to go past that and then long, right? So that's the way that works. And we have entire classes on support and resistance at algofactory.tech. And if you look through our clips on the YouTube, there's a whole clips channel. And I'm going to be reorganizing those as well. But you'll notice there is at least one in there about support and resistance and how that works, right? But that's called market structure, aka support resistance. So 43.2 is a kind of a place where price might run up to and then dump. And you know what? Quite frankly, it is always possible that price has done what it's going to do. But I could tell you that it tends to head up when we have this kind of move up like this. Bitcoin tends to keep going up, which is not always typical with tradable assets. But Bitcoin is its own beast, right? So, and that's moving up into one of those is often going to be a continuation. So, I'm going to open it up to questions whether you are in our YouTube watching. if you're not in the Algo Factory private, or if you're in the Algo Factory private, I'm going to open it up to questions, or possibly, somebody want to see like a chart. No, that's also available. And I might move over to I don't know. I know we looked at all the indexes last week. Yeah, let's just take a quick look at the Dow, aka US 30. Hell of a run. I could tell you right now. Now, this is on the weekly chart, right? So each one of these candlesticks is a week's worth of price action. It's a high time frame look. I can tell you that the indicators are bullish, right? But indicators can lag. Like, indicators are technically old news. So we don't want to make all of our decisions based on indicators. And using an indicator that we'll only talk about in the private group, I could tell you volatility is low. That means because volatility is low, then that means price may easily, even though the indicators are bullish, price could easily reject, right, at a prior pivot point. And in this case, the most recent pivot point in the SP 500 is sitting right at 35,600. I'm sorry, not the five. Not this is the Dow, not the SP 500. Apologies. So, 35.5, 35.6. That is going to be an issue. Price may not make it past that. And as I did talk about, and again, I did look at I gave a higher time frame look on the YouTube channel in the clips for the SP 500, also on TikTok. And I believe we're in like a Christmas rally. We talked a lot about that on that, so I'm not going to go over too much more. We call it a Santa rally, and that might continue for a bit. But we're looking at the end of the year, right? December starts pretty soon, and that Santa rally could end. It's very possible that we see a rejection at 35.7, kind of this upper area, maybe a little bit higher, who knows, an attempt to eclipse this and then reject it. Now, I'm not there yet. I wouldn't be shorting at this point, right? Not on a high time frame. I don't trade high time frame. I use the high time frame for bias. So if everything looks bullish on the high time frame, then I'm only looking to take longs, right? If everything is bearish on the high time frame, if price on the high time frame, if the big trend looks like price wants to go down, then I will actually be looking to go short. I'm gonna literally, quote unquote, bet on the price going down, if you want to say it that way. So in this case, right now, high time frame, everything looks like it wants to go up. So in this case, I'm going to be buying dips, right? Now that can end. And again, just to take a quick look like I did with Bitcoin, I want to see what the volatility is on the high time frame. So that's the weekly chart, basically. Volatility is pretty low. So like say it's the same as with Bitcoin. Price can reverse pretty easily. So, and that's the Dow. And we are nearing the end of the broadcast. So again, this is open to questions. If anybody in the private or YouTube wants to see a chart, or if you are watching this and you are watching it after the fact, if you want to see a chart, I am taking requests at this time. And for those of you who know, my charting is pretty good. I do a lot of, my forecasting does come true at a decent clip, at a decent probability. So feel free to ask. Cowboy charts it. All right, so I'm going to take a look at Ethereum. Just see what Ethereum is doing right now. Bullish, bullish into, well, I'm going to say neutral on the weekly, right? On the weekly, it actually is it's been holding up. It's a little bit bullish in the high time frame weekly, but week, WEAKLY, weekly bullish on the high time frame. So like bullish, but not that bullish. Neutral on the weekly WEEKLY chart. On the daily chart, it's actually, falling. And it's going to have a lot to do with what Bitcoin is doing. But I would be looking right now, look, it's creating a range. And this is also true of Bitcoin to a degree. But Ethereum is creating a range right now. It's establishing a range. I would probably have it right here. It's pretty decent illustration of what Bitcoin's doing, bouncing up and down. Now, technically, it really hasn't established the bottom of the range yet, but based on prior price action and based on this kind of a little bit of bullishness that's a little atypical, if you will. Um, Not eight. Yeah, I mean, technically atypical. Long story short, I'm looking for Bitcoin to maybe have a bounce. It might be dead cat bounce, meaning it might not follow through. But 1930 is where I might be looking for longs on Bitcoin. Now, look, on a low time frame, shorting Bitcoin's not the worst idea. But with crypto being so bullish, Ethereum's a little, I think, a little more reasonable to short than Bitcoin right now. I know traders that will not short Bitcoin ever. They just have learned their lesson. And Bitcoin is notorious for knocking people out of their trades. But what I'm going to do with Ethereum is we're going to roll over to the Kingfisher and we are going to look at the liquidity charts. Okay, first we're going to spin to see if we can grab some credits, so we can do this for free because I like free. But Kingfisher is actually really good. What I'm doing is the bare minimum of what they have to offer. Kingfisher's got a lot of really good tools that are, whatever they charge per month is well worth it if you are really, really actively trading crypto. Just understand that. But right now I'm using the free version so I can take a look at the liquidity charts and just letting this calculate. Okay, so right now there's a ton of liquidity, not a ton, but a lot of liquidity compared to everywhere else, sitting at about 20, like say 2075 to 2100, right? So we're going to draw another box for the liquidity, 2075. What was it to about like this? What was it? 2100, I think what I said. So price will, I mean, look, this liquidity, this liquidity map can change. But if this liquidity that you see, people who have gone short, their stop losses or their liquidations are up above price, if this remains, then there is a very high probability that price will make its way up to here, especially when the charts call for a move up. Um, so, this is something I'd be looking at is the way the way I trade this is I would look for my algo to tell me the price is going to move up. And a decent place for that to happen is down here at about 1930, but it can swing before that, right? It can happen. So if my algo said, hey, go long, then I would go long wherever that might happen, as long as everything in my rules say that I can go long, and I'd be looking to take profit right in this box up here because all the liquidity there, according to the kingfish.io, all the liquidity is right there. And just, to keep a very long story short, the market makers need liquidity to make money. They're going to push price into liquidity. However, price does need to naturally want to approach that direction, and they can kind of nudge it along with all the tools they have, algos, money, such and such. So, all right, well, we are now at the end of the free to the public live lab. Here is the QR code once again. So go ahead and, you can zap that. It's been in the top left-hand corner of the screen the whole time. You can also just go to the website, www.algofactory.tech. And we work with beginner traders. We work with experienced traders. We do it all. And we'd love to see you over there. The gorilla should be on any minute. So for those of you in the private room, stand by for that. And, thank you all for whoever's on YouTube right now. You got Mavbet, Jay Martin, Lisa Gray. Thank you all for coming on. I appreciate that. And hopefully we see you again tomorrow. And I'm going to go ahead and jump over. So enjoy.